What you're about to watch is part of an online training that I do twice a month inside my Movement Makers program, where I coach entrepreneurs like you how to build an online movement, how to make money from it, and use it to make a huge impact on the world. Enjoy. Movement Makers, how we doing? Happy Thursday. Great to see the smiles, the faces, the love. Let me pop in. We're going to share my screen. I'm going to get into today's topic, which is next level storytelling. So let's dive in. What's the lesson? This is one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs. It's underrated. If you search for this quote, you won't find it anywhere. But he said, we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. So we have to be really clear on what we want them to know about us. And this quote hit me at a really important time in my life when I was trying to figure out, what do I stand for? What is my mission? What am I trying to accomplish? And this actually led to me ultimately coming up with my one word of believe that led to the book, Your One Word, that led to eventually Built to Serve. The sentence just before this that he says is marketing is about values. So people want to know what it is that you're about before they care what you can sell them. But this is important for the storytelling aspect. I find so many people, when they're telling a story, they're starting off one place, they end up in another place, they're saying 18 different things at the same time, and you feel like you're just talking, but then people don't remember what it is that you're trying to get to. So before you get on stage, before you get on camera, before you create your art, before you start writing your book, before you create that tweet, like what do you want people to remember? To get really, really, really clear on what the message of the story is. Because when you're telling a story, what's the point of telling a story? The point is not to make yourself feel good, hopefully. The point is to impact somebody. The point is to have them listen to your story, and then they walk away wanting to make some kind of change in their life. And so you have to be really clear on what you want that impact to be. Have you heard the moral of the story? Right? We've talked about that before. What's the moral of the story? So being really clear going in, what is the moral, so that people can remember when they leave your speech, your video, your book, your session, your seminar, your dance class, whatever it is, they feel like they've grown as a human. And that starts with you being really intentional about how you want to start it. Okay. This is a picture of me back in 2003 when I had a lot more hair. I went to go speak in Brunei. This was the second major speech that I had done. Actually, the second speech ever, really. I was super nervous. I was 23 years old in Brunei. They put me at the 6-star hotel, and I was speaking on national television in front of the government officials, diplomats, the celebrities of the country. And I was super scared, super nervous. It was my second speech ever. I'm pretty young at 23, and I was going to speak there for 2 days. I had an hour, I think, over one day and an hour the next day. And I thought on the way there, this is such a big deal. It's such a big deal for me. It's such a big deal for the entrepreneurs that I want to help. I got to pack as much as I can in. I got to make it as informative as possible. I got to jam everything I know into these 2 hours over 2 days so that I don't disappoint them, and also I can leave them with a message that matters. And so I got up on day one, and I was so excited and so nervous, and I put as much as I could into that 1 hour. And then I was so happy with myself. It's like, I did it. And then we had this little networking event afterwards, and people would come up to me and I'd say, hey, how did you like my speech? What did you think? And the consistent feedback was, Evan, we love the energy. We love the smile. We love that you came over here, but you were speaking so quickly that we had no idea what you were saying. And English is a second language in Brunei as well. So when I get excited, I can talk really quickly, and I want to jam so much information in. And as a result, with all that intention and all that love and all that care and all that desire to try to help, they got nothing, right? In the hour of me talking, they got nothing. And so sometimes we can do this. We can overload something to the point where people don't hear anything. and they're just sitting there politely watching your speech. If it's YouTube, maybe they'll bounce and go somewhere else. And I think this is a real challenge for a lot of us, where there's so much we want to give and so much we want to contribute. And we wish we could just sit down with somebody for 4 days and just pour everything we got into them. That actually often doesn't serve, because we're making it too complicated, too big, too many steps, too many details, and it gets lost. So I needed that lesson. That's what I struggled with as well when I started off my speaking career. And the next day I got up on stage and I said, hey, thank you guys all for the feedback. I'm going to try this again and speak much more slowly and have much more intention. I've cut 3/4 of my presentation for today to just really focus in on what matters. And everybody started clapping. It's like, okay, great, let's go. And the second day was a lot better because of that intentionality. So before you go and record a video or write a post, write that article, write that newsletter, what is the moral of the story? What is the lesson that you want to make sure that they get? Because if you're not clear, they won't be clear. Now, I talk about how to do this in Built to Serve. So if you go to page 236, the first 3 sentences here kind of outline that. So the first sentence is a powerful opinion. And this is specifically for making thought leadership content. But the first sentence should make me stop in my tracks. The first sentence should be something that is powerful, that connects to me, that makes me want to learn more. And you can apply this whether you're making a newsletter, a YouTube video, a speech on stage, a seminar, a program. The first thing out of your mouth should be something really powerful that connects with people. There's a whole bunch of examples, in the book that you can go through, but I wanted to highlight that you can go through the content that's already there to give you a lot more structure as well. But the starting point is never the, hey, how's it going? Wow, great to be here. Like, give me something right out of the gate to make you memorable. And that memorable comment should be the lesson. Teach me something right away that makes me think and gets me set up for listening to the rest of your presentation. So this topic was picked by Alex, and Alex is doing a whole bunch of Clubhouse sessions. And if you guys have been in Clubhouse, one of the things they do is you join a room, there's a topic, and they bring different speakers on stage, and you wait your turn, and there's usually some kind of theme. And so Alex is going into a bunch of ADHD and self-love rooms, and he wanted me to listen to one of his stories. And that's what partly prompted this whole session. So thank you, Alex, for sharing, because now we all get to learn from this as well. And so I told him, somebody called him and asked him for an answer. Like, hey, Alex, your turn. What do you think is XYZ? What do you think holds people back from having confidence? What do you think the biggest problem with ADHD is? What do you think is the solution to helping people believe in themselves more or feel more belong? And what was missing in all of the answers was the moral, was the lesson of the story. And so I said, who is really closely aligned with the topics you're talking about? Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, if you guys don't know, is a genius. I'm a huge fan, has so much great content. We've done a bunch of videos on her. And what she has great skill at is coming up with her one-liners. So here are some that I pulled. And if you go on YouTube or Google, you can find a whole bunch more of her quotes. But if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody. Nothing will work unless you do. Treat this as your powerful opinion. So if the topic, for example, for Alex going to his Clubhouse room was, how do you have more confidence, or how do you avoid the fear of rejection? The first thing out of his mouth could be, if you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you can be. And right away, you set the tone for what's about to come. And so I want to get this into your head as a practice, not just to copy Maya Angelou one-liners, but to start to develop your own one-liners. What is your powerful opinion? And a lot of it is just coming up with the intention. What is the story that I want to tell, and what I want people to walk away from it feeling? What's the one thing that, if they only remember one thing, what's the one thing I want them to know? And then lead with that to get them hooked, to get them to pay attention. because you do have that limited amount of time with them. So whether it's Maya Angelou or somebody else, there's so many great quotes out there. I'm okay with you pulling different people's quotes at the beginning, just to develop the practice and the mindset and the habit. And ultimately, you start coming up with your own. Ultimately, as you do more shows and you do more speeches and you do more interviews, you'll end up saying something and say, wow, that was pretty cool what I just said there. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to use that for my next talk, my next seminar, my next workshop. So start to think about what is the one-liner that you can lead with to start to hook their attention. Victor, I saw in the house, and he did this awesome post on Instagram where he's learning to draw, and he drew me. So one, I gave him a heart, and it's looking good. So congrats, Victor, on being on your journey. What I want to showcase for you guys is it's not just about speaking. Speaking, really important. You know, YouTube videos, really important. But this is really about art. The purpose of art is to make people feel. Great art makes people feel. And what we all do is art. I'm doing art through my videos, and even this movement makers is art. Zan setting us up properly, that there's an art to that. You can't just put on music and hope people will dance around. The way Zan does it is art. And so my passion is art. I love seeing artists win. And one of the frustrations I have is a lot of artists really struggle to get traction, to get momentum, to get their message noticed, because they can't get it out of their head and into the world. They can't get it out of their brain and into other people's brains. It's relying on people to look at it and hopefully they get the emotion, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So if I look at Victor's picture here, and this is all with love for Victor, you know, so he spent, I don't know how much time trying to do this, you know, great job. The caption here, this is a chance to then share the story. So instead of just writing, you know, the date and hashtag trying to draw a series, what's the moral here? What's the lesson of this story? Why are we posting this? Besides celebrating you, why are we posting this? What do you want people to learn from this? There's so many different angles for this story. It could be that you thought you were a really terrible drawer, so you wanted to start on your journey. It could be that you really sucked at drawing faces, and this is now your chance to go off and try to do it. It could be you like to draw your heroes and what you've learned from me over the years. There's so many different things that you could explain. And this is where the great artists win, is they explain the story behind why they're doing what they're doing. A lot of great things are birthed from emotional moments, like why you picked this. But if you can't explain that to people, they can't join you on the journey, not as deeply. And so I may be able to look at this post, if this was just about trying something new, the way that you write the caption could then inspire me to try something new, even if I don't want to try drawing. And that's how you start to get your message way further out into the world. I remember sitting on an airplane, and I'm introvert, so I don't talk to the people next to me, but the person next to me started talking to me. It's like, oh, what do you do? I was like, oh, I got a YouTube channel, do some stuff, help entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, really? My fiance is a YouTuber. He's a male nurse, and he also wants people to get out into nature and get out going on walks. So he does these nature reviews, these hiking trail reviews in Seattle. But he's having a hard time growing the channel. I said, well, why did he start the channel? It's like, well, because he's a male nurse and he sees so much disease in hospitals, and just walking every day will make a huge difference on the number of people who show up in the hospital, right? Like just having a 20-minute walk a day. And that's what he really wants to do. He wants people to care about their health and just go walking. He's not getting a lot of traction on his YouTube channel because he's only talking about specific trails in Seattle. So if I go to that trail, maybe I'll be interested to see what it looks like. But if he could make it bigger, instead of just focusing on here's this trail and why it's so good or bad, if he could talk about hiking and the joy of hiking and how much that means to him, and the impact that it can have, and the beauty of the trees and the flowers and the animals and the birds and the noise, right? And just getting out of our day to day and stop sitting at a desk. And if that was the theme of all his videos, instead of a specific hiking trail, then me, Evan Carmichael, sitting in Toronto, Canada, could be inspired by his videos to then go off for a hike in an area around here. even though I don't live in Seattle. Does that make sense? So what you want to do is make it bigger, make it more impactful. This is how you start to build a movement beyond just the local people who may know you and friends and family. You got to connect it to something much bigger that makes me want to make a change in my life somewhere. So when Victor sharing this, and again, this is all love for Victor. And, I see IG Live with Angela commenting and Rosie commenting. It's all movement makers here giving Victor tons of love. In this, here's a real opportunity. And this is for all of you. You can all look at your posts and what you're creating. Is there a lesson? Is there a moral? If somebody saw this and didn't know who you were, would they be inspired to take some kind of action in their life or not? And a lot of it, again, is just what is the moral, and you coming up with that at the start. If Victor said, why am I sharing this? What's the intention? What do I want people to see from this? He already can come up with a couple lines at least to share in a caption. We're just not being intentional enough in the work that we're creating. If you want to watch the full version of this video, as well as train live with me twice a month to help you build your movement and be around some other amazing people just like you, check out my Movement Makers program. The link to join is right there next to me. Can't wait to see you there. Continue to believe and go join.